can you give us an injury update on Kaká?
Kaká feels a lot better, so we'll have an idea more tomorrow when he's worked on his own today. We'll see how he is tomorrow. But obviously, you saw Rivas is out there. He's looking as though he could be available for the weekend. Brian Rochez is back outside, which is pleasing. And David Mateus, you've seen, joined in this morning. So, it looks like we're getting one or two back around us.
The team is.
Mateus and Rochez, will they be available for?
Mateus maybe, because he's only missed a couple of weeks, and he did all the pre-season. No, Brian is, he's done. This is the first time he's been out with the rest of the group since pre-season started, so it'll be too early for him.
Could it be perfect timing just for the fact that you guys are on the road for the first time this season and you're having these players back from injury?
Well, the one thing, it's having your full complement of players is so important. We realised, if you look at last year, how much it affected our team selection and just the consistency of having the same group available. We had a really good pre-season, and then obviously we ended up with 2 or 3 injuries in the last week, which was unfortunate, but they weren't big injuries, and hopefully we can, by the end of next week, obviously we have a 2-week gap after this game against New York, so by the time that we start to prepare for the Portland Timbers game, I'll be really disappointed if we haven't got everybody fit and available.
Was there anything you saw from yesterday's game with New York and Toronto? You saw that New York blew the 2-0 lead they had.
Giovinco was very good. Not that we needed any more persuading how good he is, but I thought it was a good game. I thought there was 2 decent teams, and obviously they changed the shape a little bit, New York, so to the shape that they had. So we'll look at it in further detail in the week, and obviously by Wednesday we will have a plan of what we're going to do for Friday.
Coach, you talked about you have to work on your quality on the last ball and finishing. What specifically do you work on this week to help that?
Well, I thought our final ball was poor. I don't think we were positive enough. I think we had the extra pass about 3 or 4 times where we could have had shots at goal. We created the opening, and then we wanted another pass. So we need to be, 1 or 2 need to be a little bit more selfish in and around the box, and we need to take the opportunities when they arise, because certainly 3 or 4 times I felt that we could have pulled the trigger and we didn't, and we wanted the extra pass.
You mentioned Kevin in summary on Friday, saying that his sort of goal scoring ability seems to have disappeared, whereas obviously in the final year of USL he was scoring for fun, and now he seems to be taking more involvement in build-up than finishing.
I think Kevin was one of the ones guilty of that. I think that he had 3 or 4 really good opportunities to pull the trigger, from in and around the penalty box, and he's a good finisher. We've got to get him back thinking about scoring goals, not just making goals, and I think that's something that we have spoke about, and obviously from him he's just nearly a year out, so we can't be too hasty on him after 2 weeks of the season started, but hopefully that will come.
So last year you guys got your first win of the season on the road. This year you guys are still in search for that first victory. Is there any, obviously location-wise there's a difference, but do you feel like there's a little bit of a slight difference going into Yankee Stadium on Friday?
It's away from home, I think sometimes, not just us, but we put too much emphasis on the fact of, it's 11v11, the field's maybe a touch smaller, but there's no difference. We know we're going to have to play everybody home and away once, and we're going to have to go play another team from the west once. So it's 2 games in. I think we could conceivably be sitting here with 6 points quite comfortably. If you look at the chances we've had in both games, I don't think it would have been beyond the realms of possibility that we could have won the first one. Kyle scored a perfectly good goal, and I still believe that had we gone 1-0 up in that game, we would have gone to win. And we had really good chances again on Friday night. Kyle's at the post, Pedro's at the post. Final ball a couple of times let us down, but there's not too much wrong with the way we're playing. We just need to obviously be a little bit more clinical, I feel, and a little bit more positive in the final third.
Now that you have 2 games under your belt, have you seen anything that you didn't see in preseason that you need to work on?
I think obviously we've just added Nocerino now, and we've got to embed him in the system and in the team. Obviously it's been a huge blow. Suddenly we've worked all pre-season with Kaká, and then all of a sudden he's come out of the equation, and then so getting everybody fit and healthy will certainly help us.
Will Ricky need to be able to train several times this week for him to be able to play on Friday?
I'll have a better idea tomorrow. You know, when he gets back out on the grass, he probably, whether he works with the group or works individually, we don't know. We'll have a better idea after his work today.
How is Nocherino so far? I mean, obviously, there's only been a couple of days after that last game, but
He's probably trained twice with the group, so you know, obviously there's a lot of work to do in terms of him getting match fit and integrating him into our system, and obviously that takes time, and unfortunately, you know, between games you don't get an awful lot of time. You know, when you consider we've got a day of travel, you know, you've got maybe 2 or 3 days of work.
when you look at New York City, I mean, you have David Villa, Andrea Pirlo, players that are, you know, they can pretty much create chances there. Is does it give you somewhat of a challenge sometimes to how to contain those guys from scoring?
Well, the best players in the league are always difficult. You saw that yesterday. Villa gets a couple, and every time Giovinco got the ball, you were thinking something was going to happen. So I know that on Friday night in New York, if we don't take care of David Villa, it's going to be a very difficult evening for us, because they're the best players. They score and make goals, which is the hardest thing in football, and that's what they do consistently well. That's why they get transferred for the most money, and that's why they earn the most money.
Just coming back to Kevin Molino again, looking at his early career, what did you see in him when you first saw him? Because you went out to Trinidad to scout him. What kind of player was he, and what did you see of him then?
Kid who had a great first touch, great awareness, could combine with players, could beat players individually. You know, I didn't go down there to look at Kev originally. I went down to look at a forward, and you know, just this little kid on the wing just kept catching my eye with everything he did, and he's just continued to progress and just get better at what he does. And as I said, you know, I think only when you work with him do you realise his talent. I think that if you look back when Don Dwyer last year said that he thought Kevin Molino had the ability to be MVP of the league, I think that tells you how well he's respected and thought of by his fellow players, because he's got virtually everything you need in a modern day midfield player, attacking player.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
All right.